The young MC lies on his bed, feet raised, eyes fixed on his toes. He shifts repeatedly to find discomfort, hoping to cause a cramp for excitement. At 12 Elysian cycles, he is a top treasure maker in the Elysian network. He uses Proto's energy from a new universe to craft a rare, powerful treasure. He has worked non-stop for 14 billion Earth years to complete this treasure. 1.5 billion years ago, he set the treasure's foundation, easing his work. With foundation set, he manufactures treasures remotely using spiritual senses. He releases spiritual treasures called systems to populate the universe for fun. He relaxes against the wall, waiting patiently for the systems to engage beings. On Earth, Lex sits alone in a park, staring tiredly into the cold night sky. His life seems perfect to others, but mentally, Lex feels bored and empty. He reminisces about childhood joy, now lost, when everything sparked wonder. Sighing deeply, Lex decides to leave and sees a shooting star streak past him. He mutters a wish for fun, though he does not truly believe in shooting stars. The shooting star suddenly darts toward Lex silently, defying all physics. Suddenly struck from behind, Lex hits the ground, unconscious and confused. Inside Lex's mind, a voice announces his assimilation and new identity. System announces the launch of Midnight Inn, naming Lex as its innkeeper. A loud voice jolts Lex awake on the sidewalk, confusion gripping him. He recalls nothing but worries about possible illness causing his collapse outside. At home, Lex finds bruises, confirming his hard fall during unconsciousness. Tiny floating woman appears, explaining flaws in Lex's assimilation process. Mary Jane Self introduces as the avatar of the Midnight Inn system. She explains how his memories shaped her form and her system role. Lex doubts his sanity while staring at Mary Jane's calm, floating form. Mary Jane clarifies her role as the Midnight Inn system avatar. She explains the vast universe and the Midnight Inn's unique mission. Lex asks if there are aliens, showing slight disbelief about the mission. Mary Jane confirms aliens exist and outlines leveling up the Inn's powers. Lex processes the overwhelming truth, quietly sipping his apple juice. He asks Mary Jane what name she prefers in their new bond. She reveals her name as Mary Jane from his childhood memory. Lex questions the origin of the system and why it chose him. Mary Jane admits the system chose him based on analysis and crash assimilation. He decides not to dwell on it and accepts the system's presence in his life. Lex asks if anyone else can see or hear Mary Jane, clarifying her secrecy. She replies he alone perceives her, all communication happens mind to mind. Lex tells Mary Jane to show his status panel. A glowing interface appears. Holographic panel reveals Lex's health issues, starting quest, open starter pack. Lex learns he has a brain tumor affecting his motivation for months. Mary Jane reassures Lex that the tumor is mild and treatable by cultivation. Lex feels alarmed but motivated to start his new project, the Midnight Inn. Lex commands to open the starter pack, initiating the system response. The starter pack opens, gifting Lex 10 essential items for his new business. Lex reviews the building permit that allows him to design the Midnight Inn. System explains the host attire grants special functions and identity protection. System details the AI staff lease for 2 expert helpers on a 1-month contract. Lex learns the monocle database is empty and must be manually filled. Lex wears the monocle, digital info floats in his vision without distraction. Monocle swings from Lex's hand and plugs into his computer for updates. Lex holds a glowing permit paper. He floats over his land plot amid clouds. Midnight Inn design interface surrounds Lex, offering diverse icons and functions. Lex's excitement swells as he envisions design and scenes for his inn guests. Lex wonders if pancakes will be part of the inn's offerings to guests. Lex organizes his thoughts before focusing on building his inn carefully and systematically. He weighs 2 design ideas, a lord's manor or an Arab sheik's palace for his inn style. Lex picks a lord's manor style to suit the cold upcoming winter and comfort inside the inn. He discovers the design interface is intuitive, letting him build the inn with his thoughts. The inn's walls rise, cobblestone and arch-shaped wooden gates frame the grand entrance. He notes the garden's lack of statues to save midnight points for other needs. The inn's interior includes a great hall, bar, lounge with magical fire, and eatery. He imagines flora and fauna but controls spending to keep midnight points for essentials. Lex asks Mary Jane if the inn meets basic standards for guests up to Foundation Realm. Mary Jane confirms the inn's limits and warns about guests above Foundation Realm. Lex crushes certificates, summoning 2 AI assistants, Gerard and Velma, for help. AI speak in unison, offering help but admit weak combat skills below a human child's. Lex names the assistants Gerard Gerard and Velma, assigning them guest reception and service tasks. Lex asks about using golden tickets. Mary Jane explains rules about host worlds and selection. Mary Jane shares ticket use rules, emphasizing only one ticket use per week per host. Lex tears the first golden ticket. It glows and disappears, linking the inn to Earth. Quest completes. Lex is in levels up and a new quest to receive guests appears. Lex questions Mary Jane about in-level meaning. She explains access and authority growth. Lex reviews his updated status featuring health, points, and a humorous reminder about self-care. All preparations are done. Lex can only wait now and think about future midnight points use. A black cat overlooks a village under cold night air, relaxed and calm. The cat notices a glowing golden door floating beside it, sparkling warmly. Lex wears his host attire, gaining power and comfort while browsing the midnight store. Lex learns the inn's monthly costs cover vital supplies automatically and size relief. Lex pays 1 point for food but learns it covers his meals for the whole month. Lex explores upgrades in the midnight market for his inn, eyes filled with hope. Notification sounds. A guest has arrived. Lex swiftly gathers his team to greet. Lex meets a white bull and a majestic black cat passenger arriving at the inn. Batet demands respect as she questions Lex about the inn's nature and power. Lex greets Batet confidently, explaining the inn is a resting haven for all. Batet questions if the inn can transport guests to any place they desire. Lex explains the inn's service limits, no transportation beyond arrival and return. Batet expresses regret about a lost necklace and her father grounding her on Earth. Lex invites Batet to follow him for a tour through the inn's amenities. Batet recalls Earth's low spirit energy and disrupted it with excitement-induced quake. Batet decides to follow the golden door, filled with better spirit energy than Earth. Batet and Phallic arrive at the mansion garden, sensing dense but quiet spirit energy. Batet feels hope as she senses this place's spirit energy could restore her power. 3 humans appear in Bastet's path, one emanating authority but welcoming. Batet embraces discovery as Lex explains the inn's nature and invites her to stay. Lex shows Batet around the inn, hoping to impress his powerful guest. Lex shows the lounge and garden, trying to meet Bastet's high expectations. Batet asks calmly about staying arrangements at the inn. Lex explains the costs and rules for renting rooms at the inn. Batet decides to book 2 rooms for a month, paying with magical ruby. Gerard escorts Batet and Phallic to their rooms, calm and efficient. Lex receives an important system notification about his guest bookings. Lex smiles as the system rewards him with a high rank token and an upgrade. Lex studies the unique opportunity token, eager but cautious about its power. He rejects 2 items, fearing fixed fate and mysterious enemies. Mo's blessing and regal embrace attract Lex with great power and defense. Bangle of Narn tempts Lex with immense cosmic power. He weighs the danger of the bangle's detectable cosmic aura. Lex contemplates the risks of owning such a powerful artifact. His hand hovers hesitantly, torn between temptation and fear. Suddenly, something shocking happens that stops Lex in his tracks. Lex stares stunned as the glowing bangle reacts unexpectedly. He feels a sudden surge of power flowing from the artifact into him. Lex realizes his life at the Midnight Inn is about to change drastically. Lex panics as Mo's blessing disappears, forcing his choice urgently. With urgency, Lex chooses regal embrace, hoping for another chance later. Lex notices the bangle of Narn vanish next, signaling shrinking options fast. Powerful knowledge floods Lex's mind, elevating body and mind instantly. Lex opens his eyes, feeling vigor and new strength coursing through him. He learns regal embrace starts uniquely, focusing on body, spirit, and soul. He realizes the system will alter him through 4 costly but powerful procedures. He learns body, spirit, and soul link to form one, granting great defense but risks. The fusion grants immunity to many dangers while injuries become more complex. He accepts the first 1500 point cost and begins his body alteration procedure. Lex's body vanishes from the inn and appears lying naked on a white medical table. Injected serum relaxes his mind as his thoughts drift, body healing and growing. His muscles swell and bones crack and heal over 8 transformative hours past. Finished. Lex wakes with sharper jawline, better posture, and clearer skin. He breathes easily now, freed from unseen burdens his body once carried. Testing movement, Lex adjusts to new strength with walking and running reps. Mary Jane explains new in upgrades and special features connected with growth. Lex nods, already planning how to expand and improve the Midnight Inn. Lex sits in the garden. Early morning light paints the bright horizon. Last night was quiet in the inn. Lex started planning without fatigue. He opens the midnight store and buys birds, squirrels, and rabbits carefully. He buys a gentle breeze and flowering trees to improve the garden atmosphere. He asks Mary Jane about the midnight store items and their details at night. Lex plans 3 key tasks: finish the quest, set up gift shop, quit his job. He debates buying items but worries about authority and attracting guests' interest. He nervously spends a lot buying the gift shop and drops to 1541 MP left. The gift shop expands with a counter and glass case appearing in the lobby. Lex explores 4 gift shop items available with limited buying authority. He questions if animals or guests would want these special items or treats. Lex closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and fills himself with calm focus. He buys one of each gift shop item, placing them to attract guests carefully. Elma appears. Lex assigns her to manage the gift shop with clear orders. Lex asks Mary Jane to notify him if Batet or Phallic leave their rooms. Mary Jane explains 3 ways guests can enter the inn from Earth worlds. Mary Jane warns Lex about dangers if others learn about the system's sole treasure. Mary Jane confirms guest keys are 1, time use, and warns about no entry filters. Lex groans at the thought of raising the inn's level but accepts it. Resolved, Lex prepares to quit his job and start focusing on the inn fully. Lex returns instantly from the inn back to his apartment with a thought. Notices the fancy monocle's database is fully loaded without issue. Lex puts on the monocle and studies data hovering around room objects. He disables extra data, keeping only details he cares about visible. Lex returns the monocle and moves toward the shower to clean up. He enjoys a long hot shower, then admires his new body in the mirror. After dressing, Lex sets out to resign in person for respect and closure. He listens to music and walks with confident strides toward the subway. On the train, Lex buys a golden key from the midnight store using MP currency. Mary Jane explains spiritual items ease guest payments better than cash. A golden key slips from his pocket unnoticed as Lex hurriedly departs train. A child finds the shiny key and attempts to show it to his distracted mother. Lex arrives at his company building and admires it one last time from the ground. He breathes in the street food scents and steels himself to enter the office. Lex sees his boss Jessica at her office and knocks to get her attention. Jessica welcomes Lex in, sensing something important about to be said. He tells Jessica he must resign today, surprising her with sudden decision. Jessica warns Lex he loses benefits if he skips the 2-week notice period. Lex confirms immediate start at new job and accepts losing benefits. Lex is shocked when Jessica instantly senses his cultivation power. Jessica warns Lex his strong handshake could have caused serious harm. Lex admits he recently broke through and is unused to his strength. Jessica questions Lex about his mentor and cultivator district membership. Jessica tightens her grip as Lex struggles to free his hand in panic. Lex quickly crafts a believable story about self-taught cultivation from a bottle. Jessica silently evaluates Lex's explanation with intense focused gaze. Jessica releases Lex's hand but surrounds him with sharp threatening aura. Jessica demands Lex to register at the Bluebird office to avoid trouble. Lex reluctantly agrees to follow Jessica to finalize his resignation properly. Lex notices Henry at his workstation but ignores him to stay focused. A black SUV awaits outside as Lex enters behind Jessica to leave. The SUV drives silently as Lex reflects on the dangerous cultivation world. Lex hesitantly asks Jessica if cultivators are common on Earth. Jessica explains cultivators are rare but influential in many sectors. Lex questions why cultivators remain a secret despite their influence. Jessica reveals controlling news keeps cultivators' true power under wraps. Jessica warns Lex of unregistered cultivators' dangers and urges caution. Lex frowns, realizing cultivation is more dangerous than he first thought. Jessica explains cultivators are rare but powerful, hidden from the public eye. The car stops abruptly. Jessica signals Lex to follow her outside. Security guards escort Lex to a private elevator entry deep inside the building. Jessica presses B10 in the elevator. It descends rapidly to a mysterious floor. They exit onto a stunning floor with window views of clouds and distant mountains. Jessica instructs Lex to wait while she reports, promising future help with registration. Lex is left alone in the waiting room, reflecting quietly on his situation ahead. Mary Jane warns Lex to be cautious. Cultivators detect lies easily. Mary Jane explains Lex's body matches a low-stage cultivator, advising caution. Lex rehearses explanations about his cultivation and job situation silently. Hamid enters warmly, apologizes, and introduces himself as the registration manager. Hamid shows Lex his file, explaining he must register as a cultivator officially. Hamid assures Lex registration is routine and vital for public and personal safety. Lex asks about technique checks. Hamid calms him with legal protections explained. Hamid guides Lex to a lab through a corridor with AR windows displaying countryside. Hamid explains AR is a morale booster and cultivation is a science of spirit energy. Hamid affirms Lex's readiness as they enter a lab where tests will begin. Far away, a muscular man trains alone, focused on perfecting his sword technique. A young girl arrives calmly, informing him of Lex's impending cultivator registration. The man's aura erupts powerfully, sending nearby animals fleeing in terror. Lex explores the lab filled with machines and people in quiet discussions. Hamid explains tests needed for Lex's registration in body tempering realm. Hamid leads Lex to a machine for cultivation testing in the lab. Lex lies down as technicians attach 36 patches and needles on his body. Hamid explains how the test checks stability of Lex's cultivation technique. Machine delivers jolts of spiritual energy. Energy never spreads beyond arms. The test ends, confirming Lex's cultivation technique is stable and safe. Hamid introduces Golden Core Realm and offers to explain cultivation details. Hamid escorts Lex to have blood drawn for sample in Bluebird registration. Hamid leads Lex to a 3D printer making a black and red spiritual metal token. Token holds Bluebird approval and must be carried at all times for safety. Hamid warns Lex about legal strictness and consequences of losing the token. Lex puts blood on token to personalize it. No immediate effect is felt. Hamid presents optional tests for strength, stamina, intellect, and more. Lex declines additional tests, fearing unpredictable impact on his records. Lex questions Hamid about security. Hamid gives vague, cautious answers. After finishing, Hamid escorts Lex out of the lab towards the exit. Lex reflects on overwhelming new knowledge with a rising drive and hope. Lex returns home exhausted but indulges in comfort food and a rare smoke. He watches the bustling city below, soothed by its distant, peaceful rhythm. He finishes his smoke, opens the window wide, and freshens the air inside. He washes up and sits down to eat, thoughts drifting to his stalled progress. No quests are available, and Batet and Falik remain secluded in their rooms. He worries about the risks of revealing his connection to the golden key he left behind. He debates selling the key to unknown parties but fears being tracked or exposed. He resolves to wait a week before traveling to the new world, preparing as best he can. He explores the Bluebird portal and its many features throughout the day. He regularly asks Mary if Batet has left her room, but she remains inside. He learns the hierarchy of cultivation levels from mortal to revered golden core. He finds many cultivators are low-level, with few reaching the exalted foundation realm. He explores the diverse spirit tech available, from household to advanced combat gear. He notes security checks requiring tokens and verification for purchasing spirit tech. He discovers implants, healing nanobots, flying devices, and full virtual reality tech. He reviews monthly seminars held by organizations grouped by purpose and secrecy. He signs up for a beginner self-defense class to prepare for travels abroad. He is surprised to learn cultivators already live on the Moon and Mars in large numbers. Interplanetary travel requires meeting several requirements. Exciting new possibilities await. Life transforms rapidly. Lex's world shifts from dull to thrilling overnight. A child sleeps with drool as cartoons flicker. His mother watches sadly. She carries the child to bed, noticing he clutches a golden toy key tightly. The mother lies beside the child. Tears fall as she contemplates a tough future. Lex wakes late, amazed at his new gaming skills improving his reaction times. Playing games late into the night, Lex breaks his own records consistently. His strength causes damage. He resolves to control it through exercise soon. He jogs, focusing on stride and force, but tears his pants in a careless misstep. Lex buys new joggers and smiles secretly when flexing tears his shirts purposely. Early next day, day, dressed in a new tracksuit, Lex heads to his first self-defense class. Inside, a small group chats quietly, including 2 girls and 5 guys waiting. Larry invites Lex over, a frail young man eager to make connections here. Lex notices the group's average physique, questioning what cultivation looks like. He learns these new cultivators took weeks to stabilize and control their strength. More students arrive quietly, filling the seats just before the class begins. The large man opens eyes, standing tall and stirring attention from the crowd. Welcomes new cultivators, offering help to begin their journey ahead. Lex gulps, wondering if all cultivators carry such crazy energy within them. Marlowe commands the new cultivators to line up for his intense inspection. Marlowe warns of the high danger among body cultivators in the world. Marlowe stresses that survival and protection are keys to success for cultivators. Marlowe announces the first lesson is free, urging students to prove their passion. Lex reacts nervously to Marlowe's overwhelming energy and wild laughter. Marlowe introduces Stoic Rent, a minion fighters to attack and train students. Minion calmly demonstrates defensive moves to Lex with slow, precise motions. Minion shows Lex how to avoid a punch and a trip with precise leg work. Lex practices blocking, evading, and counterattacking under the minion's watch. A student tries to quit, but the relentless minion keeps attacking without mercy. Marlowe laughs wildly, clearly enjoying the heated reactions of his strict teaching method. Lex underestimates the minion and gets punched squarely in the face first try. Lex prepares for another attack, filled with determination to outlast the minion. The minion attacks fast, forcing Lex to dodge and lose balance repeatedly. Despite progress, Lex's blocks and dodges leave him vulnerable to follow-up attacks. Marlowe finally halts Lex's fight, smirking as the boy trembles in resolve. Lex shakes with fear, realizing Marlowe's teaching approach will be difficult. Marlowe praises Lex loudly, patting him on the shoulders with wild energy. Marlowe boasts his class benefits and warns Lex about alliance conflicts effectively. Marlowe laughs loudly as Lex insists he values his life and will continue classes. Marlowe sends Lex flying off the stage with another strong pat on his back. Lex leaves the hall, thinking about Marlowe and plans to get closer to him soon. Lex showers at home, noticing he is sore only from Marlowe's pats, unharmed otherwise. He spends days preparing gear for the otherworld trip, focusing on practical items. Lex trains his strength and dexterity to control power delicately, playing video games. Saturday arrives. Lex returns to class where Larry and Matilda also attend, bruised but present. Lex greets Larry and Matilda, noting Matilda's formal tone and distance from Larry. Larry explains Marlowe's harsh training and reputation. Most quit before finishing classes. Lex asks Larry why he returned. Larry hints at making the most of his time left. Marlowe reappears, dressed sharply, roaring about life's toughness and self-defense. Marlowe invites students to earn their names and hear his self-introduction with pride. Marlowe solemnly shares his name and origins, his eyes focused on his small audience. Marlowe recalls his first near-death as a child escaping jackal spirits with a newborn. He shares his survival from the beast tide as the only man left from his entire unit. Marlowe describes the day of the Red Dawn War event with grave intensity in voice. He concludes that surviving against all odds is harder than dying in this brutal world. Lex reflects on the giant's words, "Dying is easy, living is hard." Matilda introduces herself, focusing first on survival and later flourishing. Larry shares his ambition, beginning with a weak but determined tone. Marlowe praises Larry's will, emphasizing that one cannot give up despite defeat. Lex humbly introduces himself, expressing simple concerns about the world. Marlowe smirks knowingly as he assesses Lex with quiet confidence. Marlowe calls the 3 students admirable for their will and knowledge of weaknesses. Marlowe gives contracts for 3 months of strict training with serious conditions. Marlowe explains the harsh contract details, including strict attendance and penalties. After formalities, Marlowe takes them back to the arena where minions await. Marlowe calls their relationship official and introduces the core of self-defense. Marlowe explains self-defense is not martial arts alone for cultivators like now. Marlowe warns about enemies with cultivation, higher realms, and hostile dangerous threats. Lex admires Marlowe's professionalism despite his manic tendencies breaking through. Marlowe asks what self-defense looks like. Larry answers ensuring survival. Marlowe shouts self-defense means killing your opponent fast to be safe. Minions watch the students with pity as Marlowe laughs hysterically, unsettling them. Lex doubts Marlowe's professionalism once again, worried for the hard path ahead. Marlowe explains self-defense means avoiding danger and acting fast. Lex returns home exhausted and sinks quietly into a warm bath. death. Lex recalls his grueling training and feeling bruised and defeated. He mentally complains about cultivation novels ignoring training's grim reality. Sudden phone ring wakes Lex. His tub is now flooding his bathroom. Lex answers his call from his youngest sister, teasing her playfully. Moon vents about family troubles, pleading for Lex to visit home soon. Lex reassures his sister he's busy but will visit when he can. After the call, Lex feels better, orders pizza and plans next trips. Lex asks Mary Jane details about connecting to other worlds. Mary Jane explains using the golden ticket reveals habitable worlds list. Mary Jane says the universe spawns humans on multiple planets naturally. She details how different planets create diverse human subspecies. She warns different guest species might spark conflicts on planets. Lex listens, knowing his choices now are limited and safe. Mary Jane details that cultivation boosts travel range to other planets. She explains connection times vary based on distance and cultivation level. Lex nods. Relieved connection will be quick given his current cultivation. He plans to use the golden ticket soon and prepare excuses for missed class. Lex arrives early at Marlowe's penthouse to speak with him alone. Marlowe acknowledges Lex's early arrival and invites him to speak openly. Lex requests a discreet weapon and some body armor for protection. Marlowe jokes about weapons and praises Lex's dedication to training. Lex mentions he might miss the next class and prepares Marlowe for it. Marlowe laughs, looking forward to Lex's return despite his warning. Lex rests in a lawn chair. Velma serves his breakfast at the inn early. Lex waits anxiously for the system to allow reuse of his golden ticket. System notifies Lex the golden ticket is available for use again. Mary Jane explains the star rating shows cultivation potential on planets. Lex considers his options, rejecting dangerous Helios for safer Vegas minima. Lex selects Vegas minima and is enveloped in warm light as he teleports. Lex reappears on a small hill under dark clouds, scanning the fresh air. His fancy monocle flashes a warning about detected hostile creatures near him. Lex reacts in shock as a swarm of zombies emerges, advancing quickly. Zombies close and fast, overwhelming in numbers and deadly intent clear. Lex grips his heated knife tightly, preparing to fight for his survival. He steels himself, ready to survive this hostile world or perish trying. Lex runs through the tall grass, zombies slow behind him in the dark. Lex calms as he opens a safe gap and recalls his training to survive. Zombie grabs Lex's ankle, pulling itself forward to bite down hard. Lex kicks the zombie's hard head but trips and falls, trapped in panic. Zombie tries to bite but Lex's skin holds. He stabs it dead quickly. System announces sudden quest, kill 20 zombies and return safely. Lex runs again, careful now, searching the darkness for any hidden threat. He spots distant houses and storms roll overhead with thunder and lightning. Lex trips in a pothole and falls, cursing but quickly getting back up. Suddenly 3 zombies step out, blocking Lex's path from the dark bushes. Lex throws his backpack at the closest zombie, staggering it backward. He strikes the last zombie's head and sprints past the other 2 quickly. Lex's heart pounds as more bushes shake. Something else moves unseen nearby. He reaches a broken fence near roads and realizes he is inside a park. Large zombie lurks behind a tree, hiding and observing Lex patiently. He throws his backpack but the smart zombie dodges and growls fiercely. The fight starts. Lex dodges attacks and tries stabbing but blade sticks. Lex lunges, taking the risk, stabbing through the zombie's eye as it attacks. The claw hits Lex's chest, breaking ribs. He drinks healing dew hurriedly. Lex limps badly but presses on toward the city, needing to hide quick. Lex speeds up after leaving the park, desperate to find safety fast. Lex studies the strange stone buildings with no doors or windows on this street. Loud crashes signal a fight nearby. Lex cautiously approaches to investigate. Lex sees a giant lion fighting zombies, biting them headfirst without damage. Lex backs away silently, horror growing as zombies walk toward the lion, blocking his path. Lex changes direction quickly, gripping his knife, lightning flashing in the stormy night. A building with a collapsed wall offers shelter as the storm intensifies around Lex. Lex enters the building, searching blindly in darkness for light to avoid danger inside. He covers himself behind a ruined couch, knife ready, closing the flashlight to stay hidden. Hera stands nervously holding young Jimmy's hand inside a large formal drawing room. Jimmy holds a golden key, shy and protective, while feeling his mother's tight grip. Old Man Will arrives weak but smiles warmly, inviting Hera and Jimmy closer. Will recalls happier times, speaking jovially as Hera listens with mixed mixed feelings. Hera struggles with painful memories but senses Will's genuine care and warmth. Jimmy shyly offers Will his golden key, breaking the ice with a shy gesture. Will stares at the golden key, shaken deeply by the unexpected powerful symbol. The old man's strength returns as he clutches the golden key tightly. Will asks where they got the mysterious key with intense curiosity. Hera recalls the key was found at her apartment, unsure of its importance. Will smiles knowingly, hinting the key is tied to Hera's inheritance. Will sits and calls his lawyer while gripping the key with determination. Lawyer and team arrive, ready to appraise the key's true value. Will offers Hera two choices to sell the key with different risks and rewards. Hera questions why Will shared the secret of the key instead of taking it. Will smiles warmly, telling Hera he respects her and won't steal from her. Hera feels moved, hugging Jimmy tightly with tears in her eyes. Jimmy softly says the key keeps him warm, comforting his mother. Thunder wakes Lex as his chest pain vanishes, leaving excitement behind. Lex feels alive and excited, eager to face dangers and survive the world. He opens his quest menu, focused and ready to start new challenges. Lex reviews quests including killing zombies and hiring a valet for the inn. He eats granola bars to recover energy and drinks rainwater to stay hydrated. He inspects bruises on his chest, relieved no infection is present. Lex evaluates his limited equipment, noting the monocle and flashlight as assets. He commands the monocle to scan the building, revealing only mundane details. He accepts that preparation's done and resolves to start killing zombies now. Lex moves away from his base, avoiding the giant lion and hunting zombies. He spots 3 zombies standing still, staring at a nearby building. Lex plans his silent attack carefully before moving on the closest zombie. He swiftly kills the nearest zombie by stabbing its skull, then moves on. Lex kills a zombie, then uses its body to knock down the second. He stomps on the fallen zombie's head, killing it before it can react. He inspects the dead zombies but finds no useful clues about this world. He finds a large group of zombies but plans to avoid them at all costs. 2 zombified dogs bolt unexpectedly from the horde straight at Lex. He dodges the dogs by rolling aside but gets trapped by a building corner. He kicks one dog hard, sending it flying, while the other closes in fast. Lex dodges the second dog's attack with a quick roll, noting the zombie horde is near. He kicks the second dog and turns to finish off the wounded first dog. The first dog lies disabled after a head kick, still glaring fiercely at Lex. Lex swiftly kills the second dog with a kick to the head, no time to rest. The zombie horde approaches rapidly, forcing Lex to decide to retreat swiftly. He uses rain and speed to lose the horde, buying himself a brief rest. He rests under shelter briefly, careful not to overexert his stamina. He finds a massive horde moving uniformly but quickly retreats away from it. He spots a smaller group moving the same way and follows a different path. Lex avoids the zombie direction and kills lone limping zombies on the way. Suddenly, a loud roar shakes the city, followed by crashing noises nearby. Zombies emerge from buildings glowing blue, quickly spotting Lex and chasing him. Lex asks Mary Jane for time left in this world as he desperately flees. "You still have many hours," Mary Jane tells Lex sympathetically. Lex swears never to wish for more excitement after this overwhelming hunt. Lex runs past zombies, killing those that block his escape path quickly. He uses zombies to slow hunting hordes, stabbing to trip them in his claw. Number of zombies climbs, but Lex stays calm and focused, killing silently. Trapped, Lex climbs atop a car and fights back, pushing zombies off with force. He elbows a biting zombie away and quickly kills it with a stab through the eye. He feels scratches but no skin break, bruises cover him, armor showing wear. Instinct guides Lex's fluid attacks with left finger stabs and right hand slashes. Zombie sneaks behind Lex, but he spins and slashes its neck without hesitation. Lex loses his knife but fights fiercely with punches, finger stabs, and forceful kicks. Lex's brain works faster, body reacting with raw primal speed and deadly precision. Mary warns Lex to hide fast as a giant mutated lion and massive zombie chase them. He escapes through a blue light door and locks it fast, hiding inside a quiet lounge. Alone and exhausted, Lex collapses on a couch, nearly nude and drenched in sweat. He drinks Botlam Dew, feeling the pain, and quickly falls asleep from utter exhaustion. Mary watches Lex sleep with worry, whispering he cannot die, yet unaware of spores. Lex's body is black and blue, covered in bruises, cuts, and scratches from battle. Though nearly broken, Lex's skin resists piercing, unknowingly fighting infection within. Lex wakes in pain, his bruised body feeling sore and weak all over. Lex feels surprisingly well apart from pain and weakness in his damaged body. He opens system and reads notifications of zombie kills skills and rewards earned. Lex calls out to Mary Jane, who appears floating, watching him with concern. Mary Jane praises Lex but warns him he overexerted himself fighting zombies. Lex admits he lost focus but promises to keep his self-awareness in combat. Lex asks Mary Jane how to recruit Marlowe as a valet for the inn. Mary Jane explains the employment key and conditions for hiring staff at Midnight Inn. Lex understands and plans the recruitment but waits for in connection to return. He checks his status, shocked at poor health despite Botlam-Do healing effects. He waits the last 3 hours to pass, unable to sleep due to pain and exhaustion. System notifies that the world Vegas Minima is connected and access is granted. Lex quickly returns to Earth, dressed poorly and covered in dried blood and grime. He rings Marlowe's apartment bell, appearing miserable and smelling of death. The butler answers, giving Lex an annoyed look before summoning Marlowe quickly. Marlowe appears with a huge grin, excited to see Lex and eager to hear his idea. Lex weakly explains an epiphany about self-defense and giving up risky fights. Lex lies on an observation table, examined by nurses using spirit tech. Marlowe reads the healing report and smiles at Lex's surprising recovery. Marlowe questions Lex about his condition and enemy status after the fight. Lex confirms all other enemies are dead, feeling relief and safety at last. Marlowe asks why Lex came to him despite no immediate danger from enemies. Lex admits he researched Marlowe's reputation before seeking his help seriously. Lex reveals a magical platinum key that draws Marlowe's full attention silently. Lex explains the key's magical tests and his struggle to survive them. Lex offers the key to Marlowe, unable to resist its fatal temptation himself. Marlowe ponders trust and deadly consequences with a mix of smiles and seriousness. Lex anticipates Marlowe's attack and assures he planned to survive this meeting. Marlowe agrees to Lex's offer, curious about the key's true value and price. Lex explains test rewards, survival odds, and warns that cultivation changes tests. Marlowe appreciates Lex's wisdom in knowing limits but warns of his naivety. Marlowe warns the cultivation world's risks and holds power over Lex's family. Lex realizes he must consider his family's safety in future cultivation actions. Marlowe offers Lex a choice, pay or face the harsh truth of cultivation. Lex contemplates the offer silently, knowing what his answer must be. Lex endures pain as the taxi bumps along the road back home. Lex smiles despite pain, deciding to take the $50 million offer. Lex suspects Marlowe's offer was a test of his motives and mindset. He chooses carefully to stay low-key, avoiding dangerous attention. Marlowe returns home and sits solemnly, key warming his hand softly. He deduces the key's healing power signals a rare opportunity. Marlowe reports progress to his foster mother via hologram projection. His foster mother doubts progress so soon, questioning his influence. Marlowe explains Lex's choice to sell the source for safety and profit. Liz appears as a hologram, warning Marlowe to be subtle in his work. Marlowe shows Liz the platinum key hologram, surprised she can touch it. Liz asks if the key's teleportation power has been tested. Liz returns the key and instructs Marlowe to keep watching Lex closely. Marlowe laughs wildly alone, energized by the mysterious key's power. Liz reports findings to her mother, Serene, about Lex's inheritance. Serene insists on keeping the plan despite Liz's concerns. Liz groans, dismayed by homework overshadowing all other thoughts. Lex drinks Botlam-Do, then collapses into a long deep sleep. He wakes up sore, hungry, wiping drool with a grimace on his face. Lex checks his phone for money and messages from friends whom he forgot to contact. He lies to his friends about a new job, planning to reach out later safely. He limps to the bathroom, removes clothes, and inspects his bruised body in the mirror. Lex reads his status, shocked by damage to vitality, spirit, and soul. Mary explains how Botlam-Do helped while his spirit and vitality were severely damaged. Lex checks his status history and finds mutagen infected his spirit and soul. Lex realizes Botlam-Do purified the zombie mutagen in his body over time. He takes a warm shower, washing off dried blood and dirt from his battered body. He returns to the living room to find a massive barbecue feast delivered to his door. Several drinks and an entire cow later, Lex decides to rest before in duties. He plays a zombie game but feels it conflicts with real combat experience. Playing sparks an idea, he repeats actions and feels a clear-headed epiphany. He realizes combat notions were false and breaks free with fresh thinking. Inspired, Lex turns to cultivation novels seeking ideas to improve the inn. He reads about a mistreated MC with pure morals and his beautiful adopted sister. Group violently attacks the MC. His sister is identified as a saintess. The sister threatens suicide suicide, attackers agree to spare the MC and her. Instead of killing the MC, the attackers destroy the whole world he lives in. Before dying, the MC's heart fills with sorrow and hate for the world's loss. A mysterious treasure glows and saves the MC, granting him a second chance. Lex decides the inn can collect treasures from all worlds to become fabulous. He plays latest songs, hoping lyrics will inspire more ideas for the inn. Mary watches with a stupefied, irritated look, hoping Lex regains his sanity. An old man struggles to absorb spirit energy with a golden key. He contemplates using the key himself but fears his frailty and doubts others. Doubts his children's capability and worries about trusting hired help. He calls a nurse, hesitating about using a desperate, deadly trick. Two soldiers run frantically through a forest during a deadly zombie mission. Soldiers attract zombies to protect their caravan after their safe town fell. They prepare explosives, ready to sacrifice themselves to save the caravan's life. Suddenly, a towering mutated zombie appears and stalks the soldiers menacingly. Soldiers panic upon spotting the peak-tier zombie, resigned to their fate. They plan to detonate explosives to distract zombies before the deadly final attack. A brilliant golden door suddenly appears, stunning the soldiers and zombie alike. The zombie is drawn to the golden door and attacks the soldiers, dragging them away. Lex sleeps on the sofa, his body weak but his mind slowly recovering. Mary Jane suddenly appears and warns Lex about a threat inside the inn. Mary alerts Lex that a zombie entered the inn through a golden door. Lex hurriedly prepares and returns to the inn to confront the unexpected guest. Lex confronts the zombie at the inn gate holding two wounded bodies. Lex tries to provoke the zombie, planning to defend the inn's prestige. The zombie attacks, but Lex's host attire power quickly defeats it. Lex commands Gerard to clean up while noticing the two wounded guests alive. Gerard and Lex assess the two wounded guests, unsure if they'll survive. He identifies the two wounded soldiers lying outside the inn's gate carefully. He notices the two men are alive and decides to help them survive with treatment. He buys Botlamdu and recovery room but is stopped by Mary Jane, the system avatar. Mary Jane explains the pro bono wing lets wounded guests use recovery room for free. Lex buys the pro bono wing and recovery room, spending heavily from his MP reserve. He quickly designs the pro bono wing and recovery room layout to aid the injured guests. He appoints Velma to oversee the two pro bono guests admitted for immediate healing. Quest updates appear, rewarding him but urging him to attract repeat guests next time. He opens inventory and inspects the rewards, baby's candy and serene whistle items. Considering prices, he shelves the candy and whistle for sale at his gift shop soon. Velma reports the guests' critical injuries but praises the Botlamdu's poison neutralization. Mary explains the recovery room's features, including healing pods and organic reconstruction. Lex is impressed with the recovery room but notes the organic reconstruction's limitation. He asks Mary to alert him when the two guests wake, then leaves the inn quickly. Lex realizes boosting strength is key to increase authority and stop future attacks. He texts Marlowe about weapon requirements, learning from recent strange inspirations. He changes into a tracksuit and begins jogging to recover his body and clear his thoughts. He sighs deeply, feeling the weight of his duties and the challenge of entrepreneurship. Lex starts the day doing pull-ups, proud to show his new abs. Mary Jane tells Lex his guests are waking up, blushing at his exposed strength. Lex puts his shirt on quickly, trying to hide his embarrassment from Mary Jane. Lex returns to the inn, chuckling softly after his brief workout session. Mother Chun and Blaine wake groggy in recovery pods filled with dense spirit energy. Lex greets the guests warmly, explaining their serious injuries and recovery time. Brother Chun tries to sit but Lex gently urges him to stay still to avoid injury. Lex explains the rude one who tried to bring them in was punished for his misbehavior. The guests realize Lex is powerful, recalling he defeated a Tier 3 zombie. Lex introduces the Midnight Inn as a refuge for weary travelers across the universe. Lex explains their planet, Vegas Minima, is the first from their world to visit. Blaine eagerly asks if the inn can take them away from the zombie-infested planet. Lex apologizes, saying the inn cannot currently provide escape services. Blaine describes the zombie crisis on their world, begging for help to survive. Lex reflects on the limitation of his power, keeping focus on survival. Lex offers hope through opportunities, emphasizing the inn's pro bono help. The soldiers agree to Lex's terms, grateful for care and willingness to assist. Lex listens attentively as they describe their planet's struggle and history. Lex leaves the room with economic ambition sparked by the guests' hard stories. Lex asks Mary Jane about the criteria needed to qualify as a pro bono guest. Mary Jane explains PB guests must improve during their stay, only allowed once total. Mary Jane confirms PB guests get golden keys upon departure to ensure their return. Lex learns golden ticket lists planets randomly. Some planets require market purchase. Lex contemplates investing resources in guests to increase key distribution and expansion. Lex plans to build an armory and entertainment to expand his authority and services. Lex worries Marlowe's slow preparation could push them beyond the quest deadline. Lex commits to hand combat training to strengthen himself before exploring further. Lex records his training using Velma's help to improve by reviewing his movements later. Gerard interrupts Lex's training to inform him that his two guests have left recovery. Chun and Blaine leave the recovery building, observing the peaceful garden around them. Blaine wishes to bring Iris here, walking without shoes in simple tunics, lost deep in thought. The innkeeper approaches with a welcoming smile, greeting the two soldiers cautiously. Lex offers lemonade served by a young lady as he invites the soldiers to tour the inn. Chun questions in access. Lex explains keys and gives soldiers spare keys to invite others. Lex explains services and key rules. Soldiers note Botlam dues high cost quietly. A tall, muscular white bull named Phallic enters the lobby, eyeing the soldiers and Lex. Phallic uses spirit sense to check the inn, noticing unseen changes inside. Phallic questions Lex about the inn's isolating barriers protecting guest rooms. Lex deactivates the isolation on Phallic's room per his request for communication. Phallic senses the Vegas system aura on the soldiers and asks about recent events. Chun grimly explains zombies have overrun Vegas minima for nearly 2 centuries. Phallic expresses regret but cites Henali Convention forbidding interference. Chun vows to reclaim their planet unaided despite harsh zombie threats. Phallic asks the soldiers to detail the nature of these zombies and threats. Phallic orders vegetarian Indian dishes. Soldiers have steak while Velma cooks. Lex listens secretly in the garden while the group talks about urgent matters. Old Man Will offers a soul contract to a young mercenary for deadly service. Mercenary injects a silvery substance, binding his soul to Will's control. Will receives the soul contract tattoo on his hand, confirming their bond. Will gives the mercenary a golden key as a symbol of his new deadly assignment. The mercenary crushes the key without hesitation, ready to fulfill his oath. The mercenary vanishes in a flash, beginning his sudden deadly mission for Will. Hugo Loran is a cultivation genius known for his rapid growth and grit. He joined the Deepwater Brotherhood for freedom and military protection. Despite his progress, Hugo's life remained unpredictable and hardship-filled. He arrives at the Midnight Inn gate, alert despite the estate's warmth. A mysterious man appears suddenly, greeting Hugo with a calm smile. Innkeeper's voice enchants Hugo, making him want to trust immediately. The innkeeper offers a tour and reassures Hugo the inn is a safe place. Hugo lowers his rifle but stays alert, feeling wary despite the smile. Inside the restaurant, Hugo spots 3 diners discussing Vegas Prime. Strongest man dining radiates oppressive energy despite his casual pose. Hugo accepts reality, feeling unworthy yet willing to learn and adapt. Walking through the garden, Hugo notices his cultivation improving rapidly. Innkeeper suggests Hugo use the recovery pod for hidden injuries. He learns untreated injuries block cultivation beyond the Foundation realm. Hugo weighs his options and decides to try the recovery pod despite doubts. He pulls out the powerful credit card, hoping it will pay for the healing. Lex watches as the inn accepts the payment, pleased with the guest's trust. Lex guides Hugo to the recovery pod, hopeful for a full house soon. Hugo climbs into the recovery pod, ready to heal and regain his full potential. Evening falls as the inn's garden fills with warm firelight and guests relax. Lex waits anxiously for Hugo's recovery to finish, eyes on the pod nearby. He ponders expanding the inn with a greenhouse or a meditation room, weighing costs. Mary Jane alerts Lex to a call from Earth. Excited, he heads to answer it. Lex smiles as Marlowe's loud laugh greets him through the phone call. He confirms the transferred payment and promises to spend without hesitation now. Marlowe invites Lex to pick up a weapon and discuss important matters today. Lex arrives at Marlowe's apartment, greeted by the butler and led to the gym. Marlowe ends his call quickly and smirks, then signals Lex toward a briefcase. Lex opens the briefcase to find his new spirit weapon, Heavy Harley, inside. Marlowe loads the spirit ammo magazine magazine and fires, damaging a minion silently. He swaps magazines and fires physical ammo, blowing off the minion's head. Marlowe shoots continued rounds, reducing the minion to scattered machine parts. Lex holds the heavy spirit gun for the first time, feeling its cold metal weight. Marlowe instructs Lex to test the spirit bullets by shooting a minion 20 feet away. Lex fires but misses, the recoil strong enough to lift the gun skyward quickly. He steadies his grip, firing successfully and hitting the minion with spirit bullets. Switching ammo, Lex fires physical bullets but suffers a painful recoil injury. Marlowe laughs at Lex's struggle, reminding him that mastering guns takes strength. Marlowe resets Lex's dislocated arm and checks for more injuries carefully. After tending Lex, Marlowe puts the gun back and signals him to follow quietly. They reach the lounge where a butler serves Lex herbal tea to soothe his shock. Lex savors tea's subtle honey taste and feels his muscles relax warmly. Marlowe explains spirit energy's power over physical attacks to Lex patiently. Marlowe details the heavy Harley's heavy recoil and its suitability for beginners. Lex reassures Marlowe of satisfaction but suspects more topics remain to discuss. Marlowe expresses interest in Lex's key tests and their dangers before his own trial. Lex recalls his first test gave a cultivation method and a body durability pill reward. The second test forced choice before being sent to kill zombies in an unknown world. Marlowe interrupts surprised, clarifying if zombies mean like movies and games. Lex confirms zombies varied in strength and described the infection risk from scratches. Lex tells Marlowe all details to prepare him for his own likely zombie test. Marlowe and Lex finalize registration for the Heavy Harley on the Bluebird portal. Lex receives Marlowe's text-canceling classes and assigning optional practice tasks. Lex returns to In finding Phallic back and soldiers ready to break through soon. Hugo arrives excitedly requesting a week's room rental. Lex accepts happily. Lex notices a hidden achievement notification unlocking new rewards and authority. Spirit Energy Wave grants Batet and Phallic stronger powers and recovery. Lex reflects on missed spirit energy but focuses on his new authority and options. Lex explores upgrades to expand his inn and boost income effectively. Phallic returns as a bull. Batet rides him, both leaving the manor silently. Batet thanks Lex but decides to leave early, feeling unsafe at the inn. Phallic and Batet vanish from the inn, leaving behind their golden keys. A village hawker finds the keys and adds them to his trinket collection. Marlowe prepares to leave with the platinum key but is interrupted by a bloodied guest. Without asking questions, Marlowe takes Matilda to his personal clinic to tend her wounds. Marlowe sprinkles red powder on Matilda's wounds as she grimaces in discomfort. Marlowe waits in his lounge, watching over his students with amusement and worry. Matilda returns from shower, wrapped in bandages and dressed casually, declaring readiness. Matilda shares her urgent plan to enter the tournament without joining an organization. Marlowe bursts out laughing at Matilda's bold plan, amused but unsure of her success. Matilda leaves swiftly, unspoken resolve strong as Bluebird agents await outside. Larry struggles up with bruises after sparring hard at the Grievers Club. Fat Man mocks Larry as he exits the practice room with a defeated look. Larry reflects on his past failure but clings to a faint glimmer of hope. Lex buys 2 rooms and a courtyard despite high costs to expand the inn's capacity. He inspects the courtyard, a garden with a blossom tree, bench, pond, and guest rooms. Mary Jane appears to inform Lex that Marlowe is using the platinum key right now. Mary Jane explains all guest activities will happen in a special white room before place designation. Lex asks how the system and valet job will work, curious about the process ahead. Mary Jane describes valet duties like escorting guests and retrieving belongings from worlds. Lex confirms valets get automatic pay via system, depending on strength and skill. Lex thinks how to attract Marlowe to join the inn, focusing on travel incentives. Through a silver door appears Marlowe, muscular with scars and a faintly glowing tattoo. System reports Marlowe as a crippled golden core cultivator with unstable energy. Lex greets Marlowe as Innkeeper, welcoming the hardened but eager contender. Marlowe expresses surprise, expecting a test in a minor realm with a nascent soul trial. Lex explains the inn is not tied to any planet or solar system but spans the universe. Marlowe asks if the test is a job interview to join the inn staff. Lex shows a silver contract stating Marlowe's duties and rewards if he joins. Marlowe hyperventilates with excitement, feeling power to heal his crippled golden core. Marlowe asks if joining means a lifelong role at the inn. Lex confirms forever. Marlowe refuses the offer, body tense and full of conflicting determination. Marlowe refuses the contract, determined to keep his pride intact today. Lex asks why Marlowe Marlowe refuses the offer despite its strong benefits. Marlowe reveals his pride forbids him from ever bowing to another. Lex receives notification of failed quest and lost MP as Marlowe refuses. Lex asks Mary Jane for advice on how to keep Marlowe close to the inn. Mary Jane explains the trials guide relationships and rewards at the inn. Lex decides to upgrade the recovery room to gain Marlowe's loyalty. Lex admires Marlowe's spirit and offers him a trial as a second chance. Marlowe questions Lex's true motives for offering another chance to serve. Lex waives a new contract offering a risky trial for a physical healing reward. Lex vanishes after setting the terms, leaving Marlowe alone with the trial offer. Marlowe studies the brutal trial conditions and nods, ready to accept the challenge. Lex and Mary Jane reappear watching the spot where Marlowe once stood. Lex doubts if 10 Tier 4 zombies aren't too tough a kill for Marlowe's trial. Lex bitterly claims Marlowe must pay the price to have his recovery paid for. Marlowe reappears on a cliff overlooking a city under siege by endless hordes. Marlowe observes powerful cultivators and giant beasts battling the horde. Marlowe recalls his cultivation pain and uses his grin to mask agony. Marlowe plans to attack from the sides, avoiding both sides' attention keenly. After hours of study, Marlowe leaps into the zombie horde, starting the trial. Marlowe lands softly among zombies, unnoticed and ready to assess the threat. Golden armor forms on Marlowe, activating a complex tattoo, form talisman. Marlowe shoots a needle from his armor, killing a Tier 3 zombie instantly. Marlowe retreats to a cave and examines the killed zombie's strange body. Picking up the zombie core, Marlowe submits it and prepares to hunt relentlessly. Marlowe charges headfirst into the horde, scattering dozens with brutal force. Needles drop from Marlowe's armor, forming a robotic snake to collect cores. Marlowe punches fiercely with spiked gloves, killing over 100 zombies rapidly. 3 Tier 4 zombies surround Marlowe, signaling others to keep distance. Lex asks Mary Jane about prime humans and their rare cultivation path. Lex returns to the inn and reshapes the flat land by creating hills covered in flowers. Lex discovers Brother Chun and Blaine have left the inn for their caravan. Lex goes to Earth, accesses Bluebird Portal, and heads to a hidden underground gym. Lex practices shooting heavy Harley rounds in a private underground shooting range. Lex watches an AR tutorial hologram teaching heavy Harley's spirit bullet features. Marlowe slashes a Tier 4 zombie with a golden scythe, spurring brutal battle on. Marlowe activates the Endless Halo talisman to burn 3 Tier 4 zombies nearby. Marlowe throws a blazing sword with Hadron Collider technique, causing a fiery explosion. Marlowe's golden speed allows him to dodge bone spike attacks and retreat strategically. A mysterious woman appears and easily kills a Tier 4 zombie with a single sword swing. Marlowe laughs madly and activates his bloodline, shrinking to a younger, powerful form. In youthful form, Marlowe pounds a Tier 5 zombie with powerful successive punches. Marlowe delivers a final explosive punch, opening the ground and killing the Tier 5 zombie. Marlowe's body vanishes as he completes the trial and submits thousands of zombie cores. Lex lies in bed with sore arms, pain stopping his sleep tonight. Mary appears suddenly to inform Lex Marlowe has finished the trial early. Lex returns to inn, surprised by Marlowe's smaller, younger appearance asleep. Mary warns Lex Marlowe is internally exhausted and needs recovery pod now. Lex upgrades recovery room, sends Marlowe to the pod, spending almost all MP. Lex reviews loot from trial, noting Marlowe's submission of a rare Tier 5 core. Lex prices each zombie core type to sell and generate future profits soon. Lex waits for guests to arrive, hoping to recoup his spent MP quickly. Lex rests and surfs Tempsite Tempest to learn about Cultivation world events. Lex reads about a resurgent Mogul family dominating cultivation tournaments lately. Lex discovers minor realms and Mogul family's secret kingdom in India. Lex investigates fighting tournaments with mysterious attackers causing tensions. Deaths mostly occur in remote realms, cities punished strictly for cultivator fights. Lex finds world security stricter on Earth than on Moon or Mars, unsure why. Lex follows famous users on Tempest to attract guests and stay current on news. Lex spots the Fight Fortress owner's Tempest account, married to Marlowe. Mary tells Lex Marlowe is awake, laughing non-stop, seeming mentally affected. Lex closes portal, prepares to meet Marlowe, ready for the next trial taker. Alexander contemplates the intense training shaping him since birth. Born heir, Alexander's upbringing was designed by hundreds of experts. From age 5, Alexander's training balanced freedom and relentless challenge. He learned resilience by facing failure and analyzing every outcome. At 7, he was made to kill sedated animals, feeling conflict but obeying. Weeks later, he killed without hesitation, growing stronger and more skilled. 9, he survived 30 minutes in wild habitats, mastering survival skills. Over years, animals bowed before him, sensing his unmatched strength. His studies focused on practical use over pure grades. Every venture succeeded. He was trained to detect threats, recruit followers, and navigate social ties. He could quit training anytime but never considered losing his heir status. By 17, he reached Foundation Realm, an unprecedented breakthrough at his age. He fought a mysterious masked woman for a rare breakthrough chamber opportunity. He lost due to her superior judgment and battle effectiveness. He traded chamber use for future benefits, awaiting her to make contact. Freed, Alexander invites friends Greg, Helen, and Zeus to celebrate success. Greg boasts about his bet. Helen scolds Zeus, planning their celebration. Greg demands Alexander update his cultivation status on Tempest. Helen suggests a celebration with an auction and a special feast. Alexander agrees, ready to mark the end of his strict training regime. Lex watches over Marlowe recovering slowly in his medical recovery pod. Marlowe fights unstable bloodline effects, weakening his recovery pace. Lex praises Marlowe's bravery, promising full recovery soon. Marlowe's thoughts dwell on the strong, mysterious woman he desires to fight. Lex studies Marlowe's volatile injuries and grim condition in the recovery pod. Marlowe's bloodline mutation causes him to struggle for survival inside the pod. Lex plans to use the golden ticket, but it's still on cooldown from last use. Lex hopes another guest arrives or Hugo leaves his room soon for a gift shop trip. Alexander balances work and celebration preparations at the auction private room. Alexander receives mysterious texts revealing his enemies' fighting moves and threats. Zeus fakes a sudden urgent departure after a slip-up reveals his secret admiration. Alexander notices Zeus's uncharacteristic panic during the auction gathering. Alexander asks Helen to purchase any auction keys if available while he steps out. Alexander calmly tracks Zeus leaving another private room, breaking its lock to enter. Alexander confronts Zeus, who freezes in panic, facing him with calm resolve. Zeus confesses his role in isolating Alexander and the failed formation. Zeus explains how the mini-teleportation escape formation protects him. Alexander forwards a warning text revealing the assassination plot participants. Zeus admits to isolating Alexander and using others to stage an attack. Alexander reveals he joined this danger to test true friendship with Zeus. Alexander grants Zeus freedom and warns him about his father's manipulation. Zeus warns Alexander about poison injected into Helen's blood before disappearing. Alexander remains alone, expression unreadable as he contemplates the deadly message. Alexander enters his booth, hiding the truth about the assassination attempt. He pretends ignorance despite knowing an assassination was planned against him. Alexander knows betrayal will come but remains calm, treating it as an experiment. Helen informs Alexander no keys were auctioned, while Greg sulks in the corner. Greg complains about Alyssa outbidding him, with Helen teasing him mercilessly. Helen counts Greg's breakups with Alyssa, adding humorous commentary to the mood. Greg roars in frustration, but his friends remain amused and unconcerned. Alexander senses Greg's tension but says nothing about the missing mention of Zeus. Auctioneer announces a mysterious last-minute addition to the auction. He describes a secret Egyptian village protected by the goddess Batet. The village remained undisturbed for millennia and no cultivators dared enter. Residents sold 2 mysterious spirit artifacts shaped as golden keys. The artifacts emit healing spiritual energy, source, and power unknown. Alexander quickly places a huge bid for the first key, surprising the crowd. Price shocks all, including the auctioneer and his friends watching nearby. Helen asks what the keys do, and Alexander reveals he only buys them for someone. A sudden knock at the door startles Alexander as the auction nears its climax. Alexander welcomes the elderly man with 2 guards into the room calmly. Senior Hamad reminisces about the old times and praises Alexander's breakthrough. Alexander discusses the advancements in spirit stone mining and future exploration plans. Senior Hamad acknowledges Alexander's records and mentions the 2 inheritance keys. Alexander downplays knowledge of keys and claims to buy them for a friend. The door opens and a woman brings a briefcase containing the keys to Alexander. Alexander calmly examines the keys, sensing warmth and power from them silently. Hamad asks asks to inspect the keys, his tone sharpens, and tension rises in the room. Hamad nearly reaches for the keys but keeps his hand back before commenting bitterly. Hamad regrets missing the auction and regrets he could not secure the keys himself. Suddenly, Senior Hamad throws a dagger through the air aimed at Alexander's throat. Simultaneously, projectiles explode from the walls targeting Alexander, Helen, and Greg. In less than a tenth of a second, the dagger speeds toward Alexander's vulnerable throat. Meanwhile, Lex relaxes in a luxurious bath, enjoying a pina colada to calm his nerves. He mentally adjusts the water temperature, enjoying his moment of peace away from stress. Lex contemplates adding hot springs to the inn to improve future guest experiences. Alexander stays calm as the dagger hits, but his armor absorbs the strike. Masked cultivators surround the teens, their threat hanging heavy in the air. Alexander mocks Hamad, confident that times have changed and he is untouchable. Alexander's red, gold dust armor absorbs attacks, a family secret from Mars. Hamad warns attacks will drain Alexander's defenses over time. Alexander dares the assassins, then vanishes as they try to stop him. The teens reappear outside, ready to hold out just one more minute. Alexander asks if they have defenses, but none can stop Golden Core attacks. 10 assailants pursue, breaking out behind them, Spirit sensing their trail. Hamad launches a glowing red dagger, blocked by floating blades behind Alexander. Alexander strains to block attacks, but pursuers close in, cutting off his escape. Alexander drops his friends to fight, focusing as Greg's hand grips his calf. Hamad slowly claps, mocking Alexander's valiant resist despite his youth. Alexander questions Helen if she knew about Greg and Zeus's betrayal. Helen confirms she was unaware of Greg's betrayal but sensed the assassination plans. Hamad warns Alexander to surrender or face death from the implanted worm. Under the night stars, Alexander watches 10 shooting stars streak towards him. 10 flaming balls explode on the ground, unleashing deadly Titan soldiers. Titan soldiers emerge from pods, fully armed and ready to follow orders quickly. Alexander commands Titans to seal Egypt's airspace and stop cultivator movement. Titan 036 roars his orders and pursues the fleeing assassins relentlessly. A soldier swiftly gives Alexander a black pouch, then leaves without protection. Greg and Helen freeze, shocked by the sudden military deployment and orders. Alexander dashes at Greg and punches him, causing severe internal damage. Alexander follows up by flipping Greg, preparing poisoned acupuncture needles carefully. He sterilizes the needles in a flame to avoid poisoning Greg too early. He injects needles into Greg's heart, targeting the dangerous heart meridian Mother Goo. He channels spiritual energy via needles to gain control over the Mother Goo parasite. Mother Goo reluctantly frees the child goo, which Alexander ejects from his skin. Alexander burns the ejected child goo worm to eliminate the parasite threat completely. He removes the needles and turns toward Helen, who now watches them with sad eyes. Helen calmly reveals she was ordered to poison Alexander using 10 complex toxins. He explains the poisons await combining before activating, causing meridian and brain damage. Helen admits she lacks full information but suspects the poisons confuse doctors deliberately. Helen reflects on her family's selfish use of her, living a privileged yet controlled life. She struggled with loyalty but refused to betray her friends despite the cost. He reveals the poison was activated by blood contact, risking her own life to protect Alexander. Alexander regrets his overconfidence and confusion after the attack ends. Helen explains she had no knowledge of other threats beyond her orders. Alexander ponders deeply how he missed signs of his friend's danger. A masked blonde girl interrupts with a briefcase holding a special key. Alexander asks how to use the key and how to contact the mysterious girl. The mysterious girl reveals her Tempest username before fleeing. Alexander attempts to use the key, but it suddenly shatters, vanishing them. Lex remains calm as he plans to get Hugo out and into the gift shop. Lex bathes to calm himself before heading outside for a smoke. 2 bewildered teenagers arrive at the Midnight Inn, hand in hand. Lex formally welcomes them to the inn, promising rest and recovery. Alexander urgently asks if they can cure Helen's poison without delay. Lex diagnoses Helen's condition, confirming the poisons can be cured. Lex offers 2 healing options, Botlam Dew or a recovery pod. Alexander chooses recovery pod treatment and pays with a black card. Lex teleports the group to the recovery room to start the healing process. Helen lies in the recovery pod, beginning the slow healing treatment. Alexander steps back and surveys the room, noticing another guest inside. Alexander asks about Marlowe, who is resting in the adjacent recovery pod. Lex hints to Alexander that Marlowe's story can wait, respecting guest privacy. Alexander nods and remains unaware of Lex's longer plans for him. Alexander stares blankly at Marlowe, sensing drastic changes in him. Lex explains the inn's purpose and guests who seek escape from troubles. Alexander introduces himself and Helen, apologizing for not doing so earlier. Lex reassures Alexander that no apology is needed and welcomes his arrival. Alexander asks about guests from Earth, curious about the inn's reach. Lex notes the inn recently connected to Earth, expecting more visitors soon. Alexander inquires if anyone with a golden key can enter the Midnight Inn. Lex confirms golden keys grant entry, explains rules and key distribution. Alexander examines gift shop items, surprised by the inn's unique powers. Alexander learns Helen's recovery will take a day or two, depending on her body. Alexander rents a room and buys a Tier 3 core, impressed by its card form. Alexander absorbs energy from the core cautiously, feeling its strong power. Lex admires his luck as Alexander's purchase grants much-needed healing MP. Lex wonders how Alexander got his key, suspecting Bastette's involvement. An emergency alert warns all cultivators to stay home amid a growing crisis. News reports flood in about war in Egypt and battles between cultivators erupting. Larry calls Lex, asking to stay at his place to avoid arrest from Bluebird. Lex agrees quickly and sends Larry his address to avoid trouble with agents. Lex searches the portal for news on a distant war causing global unrest. Larry arrives bruised and tired, surprising Lex at his apartment door. Larry explains his bruises come from work sparring before Bluebird's emergency alert. Lex invites Larry to freshen up before discussing the crisis at hand further. Lex continues researching portal news, puzzled by the vague official responses everywhere. Larry returns in fresh clothes but still showing bruises. He collapses on Lex's couch. Larry jokes about staying at Lex's alone, teasing about girlfriends that don't exist. Lex explains he lives alone, ignoring Larry's persistent flirting attempts. Larry tries to explain the global cultivator crisis despite Lex's doubts on urgency. Larry describes regional ICPA agencies enforcing worldwide cultivation house arrest. Lex questions why house arrest applies globally when incident happened in Egypt alone. Larry explains cultivators often see themselves as superior, causing conflicts with mortals. Larry warns cult killers are controlled fiercely to protect mortals from violent acts. Lex wonders who polices the powerful ICPA cultivators themselves in dangerous times. Larry admits higher cultivators handle global crime, while low cultivators stay out of trouble. Larry suggests checking the portal again for news to better understand the crisis. Lex finds a shocking headline: Alexander Morrison assassinated in Egypt. Larry's horrified expression reveals he knows the importance of the late Alexander clearly. Lex stares at Larry, realizing this crisis runs deeper than he first imagined. Kyle holds his Hogwarts letter, eyes fixed on the parchment with wide wonder. The letter from Hogwarts confirms Kyle's dream to attend magic school is true. Kyle recalls his transmigration and discovery of his wizarding lineage nearby. Chris reminds Kyle not to keep the Weasleys waiting for their day out. Kyle calls out to Groot, his small bowtruckle, before leaving the house. Chris prefers few magical creatures, believing they belong in the wild, not homes. Kyle remembers Newt Scamander's special bond with magical creatures over the years. Chris's job at the ministry keeps him busy, but he enjoys his work with magical creatures. Diana returns early, her gentle smile radiant as she holds Kyle's hand firmly. The family shares a warm moment before departing, ready to meet the Weasleys. Diana uses apparition to whisk Kyle away instantly, leaving home with a pop. Chris follows quickly, disappearing in a swirl of magic with determined focus. The Chopper family departs together, ready to begin their magical shopping adventure. Kyle clutches his letter tightly, filled with hope and anticipation about the future. His mind races over the prized families nearby, sealing his belief in this magical world. He feels a quiet pride knowing his parents serve important roles in the magical community. United, the Chopper family steps confidently toward the magical world opening before them.